What is going on, investors? My name is Emmanuel, and in this video I'm going to share with you a stock that I recently decided to reduce my position. I trimmed my position in half in this stock, and it was because I made an error. Okay, I made a mistake in terms of overlooking one of the four main key principles to investing according to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. You know, I've read this particular principle many times in many books: Richer, Wiser, Happier, Psychology of Money, 100 to 1 in the stock market, Thomas W. Phelps. And it was actually reading this part in the book that made me realize that, yo, I made a mistake. So I'm going to share the main error that I made and why I made that error, because it was almost deliberate, because I knew better, but I decided to overlook it because back in the bull run, back in 2019, 2020, I mean, you could invest in trash and it was going up. So it didn't really matter. But this time, valuations matter. And the four main pillars of investing, according to Charlie Munger, is important. So I'm going to show you this particular stock that I decided to trim my position in. I'll show you my current position right now, and I'll show you my transaction history, and I'll share with you the main error that I overlooked and the lessons I learned from it. Before we dive into that, this was really what resonated with me. All right, so this is from 100 to 1 by Thomas W. Phelps. He said, for the individual or institution really out to make a fortune in the stock market, it can be argued that every sale is a confession of error. And that's exactly what this sale was. Okay, it was a confession of error. And now that I'm starting to look at my positions with a 10-year horizon, I look at this particular stock, and within 10 years time, unless they make some drastic changes, I don't see how this company will remain dominant within the next 10 years. And also, Warren Buffett has said on many occasions that when you invest in a stock, you should be able to own it indefinitely. You know, the stock market should close 5-10 years and you should not worry about the stock, because you've invested in a quality company whose earnings will only continue to improve as the years go by. And as Peter Lynch has said on many occasions, the stock price follows the earnings. Okay, so if you need to follow one fact, follow the earnings. That's what Peter Lynch says all the time. And I look at this company, I look at the management of this company, and I have doubts. Okay, I have strong doubts. And this part also really struck a nerve. It said the shorter the time a stock has been held before it is sold, the more palpable the error in buying it. And that's very true. So what stock am I talking about right now? And let me pull up my position. The stock is GoPro. Ticker symbol is GPRO. Okay, so currently my position now, I'm sitting on 1,370.5 shares of GoPro. I'm still currently up in that position because I've got an average just below, because I've got an average of $9.17, I believe it was. And you can see my sales history here. So on the 30th of June, I initially sold 1,500 shares of GoPro. And then I sold another 850 shares of GoPro, and that's my current position as it stands right now. But essentially, that's my position right now. I did trim my position in half. I realized that I allocated too much trust in this current CEO, and it wasn't a wise move. Okay, but I don't think the company is bad. I still think the company is undervalued right now, which is why I haven't sold out entirely. But this is the position we are talking about. Okay, so let's go into the four main pillars, and then I'll tell you exactly why I sold. All right, so this is an interview that Charlie Munger did many years ago. It's titled Charlie Munger Reveals the Secrets to Getting Rich. But like I said, you can find it in most investing books now, well, most good ones. He speaks about the four main pillars of investing, and pretty much I tend to base my investing decisions based on all four of these pillars. But in GoPro's circumstance, I knew better. I decided to overlook this main principle here. And it's this: we prefer a management team with integrity and talent. All right? In my view, and based on Warren Buffett's letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders over the years, this refers to a management team that thinks like an owner, tells shareholders the truth, and works to widen the company's moat over the long term. Okay, so I'm looking for a chief executive officer, preferably a founding CEO, which Nicholas Woodman is, but who has skin in the game. Okay, own the stock and put the long-term well-being of the company over their bonus checks. Now let's take a look at the recent insider transactions, because this guy can just not stop selling his shares. All right, Nicholas Woodman, June 24. Okay, so last week he sold 200,000 shares. All right, so that's June 24th. You scroll down just a little bit. May, all right, May 24th, he sold over another 200,000 shares of GoPro stock. If you scroll down further, April 26th, he sold another 200,000 shares of GoPro stock. Go to the 24th of March, another 200,000 shares of GoPro stock. So even on the beginning of March, the 1st of March, he sold 27,000 GoPro stock. And on the 25th of February, he sold 172,859 shares of GoPro stock. Now, I will say this, insiders sell for many reasons, okay? He might have a certain structure set up where he has to sell a certain amount, but I don't care. I really don't care. It makes me nervous, okay? It makes me nervous every month seeing that our CEO has flogged another 200,000 shares. And I'm starting to ask myself, does this CEO really have skin in the game? Now, granted, he still owns millions and millions of shares, but it's always a headline grabber. Nicholas Woodman sells 200,000 shares of GoPro. It's almost like every single month I am seeing headlines like such that he keeps on selling. And for me as a shareholder, knowing his history, it doesn't fill me with that much confidence. Now, in my preparation and in my due diligence and my research regarding GoPro before I decided to invest in it, I was aware that Jeremy from Financial Education, he had a large position in GoPro. Now, I watched all of his videos, and one of the main reasons why he sold was because Nicholas Woodman did shareholders dirty. I'm going to play this clip for you from Jeremy back in 2017, and it really is quite telling of Nicholas Woodman as a CEO of this company.
You have not obviously done even close to a good enough job, because here we are with the stock price that's near the 52-week low, and the last straw came yesterday when what I read blew me away. You are now selling massive amounts more shares, millions upon millions upon millions of dollars worth of shares, because you feel like you need to diversify a little bit. That's the biggest bunch of bull crap I ever heard in my life. I don't ever remember Jeff Bezos saying, "Oh, damn it, I own too many Amazon shares. Let me sell some Amazon shares because I need to be a little more diversified." I don't ever remember Warren Buffett saying, "Oh man, I own too many Berkshire Hathaway shares. Let me diversify." Hell no, and especially not when the stock is somewhat near its 52-week low. You don't do that. If you're a real CEO and you really got the back of your company, then you do what Steve Wynn did when his shares were down drastically. What did he do? He loaded up on a bunch more shares, even though he already owned about 10% of the company, okay? Him and his ex-wife owned about 20% of the company, and he still loaded up on a bunch more shares when the company was low. You know why? Because that's what real CEOs do. When their stock prices fall dramatically, they get behind the company, they invest more money, they don't sell off shares, okay?
So I had watched this video before I decided to invest in GoPro, and I knew the main pillars of investing from Charlie Munger, but I still got greedy and I decided to invest nonetheless. But I went too heavy in the stock. Okay, I went too heavy in the stock, and I decided that, look, I think the stock is drastically undervalued. I mean, the stats are there for all to see. It's got a price to sales of 1.7. It's got a forward PE of 13.6. They've got a fantastic balance sheet. The income statement is looking very good. They're positive free cash flow. I mean, they are ticking all the right boxes. But I think the main problem with GoPro at the moment is the leadership. The CEO is someone who I think is hard to trust, okay? It's hard to trust. He's burnt shareholders many times. Just like you saw Jeremy express when the stock was at 52-week lows a couple of years ago, this guy was still selling. So that tells me that if GoPro stock was to get hammered today, maybe because the general market is falling or for whatever reason, then this guy, rather than buying shares, he will continue to flog even more shares. It will make more headlines, and it will add additional selling pressure to the stock. So I think that's one of the main reasons why GoPro is still drastically undervalued now, because of Nick Woodman, the CEO. So because of that reason, I felt the risk reward for this stock and versus how much money I had invested in the stock, I didn't think it was worth it anymore, and I decided to trim my position in half. Okay, so I'm happy. Right now, my current position represents about less than 6% of my portfolio, and I feel much more comfortable having that amount allocated to the stock and for it to have that amount of weight in my growth stock portfolio. So that's my position with GoPro at the moment. I did trim my position in half. Again, do your own due diligence, make your own investing decisions, but that's what I decided to do. to protect my portfolio long term. But thank you so much for watching. If you gained any value from this video, please make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to see more video content from me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.